How we doing, everybody? And welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're a little late. All right, I was told you guys I'm coming back tomorrow. It's Saturday now. I'm sorry for the delay, but I had to see a game between the Boston Red Sox and the Milwaukee Brewers before I could have the Boston guy on. I'm telling you, I had to wait because I didn't know what side of the fence I wanted to be on. I didn't want to be too optimistic, right? I didn't want to be too optimistic. But hey, today I got a great crew with me today. I got Aaron. He was on the other day from Brutally Honest Sports. I have Kyle Edwards from Chomping on the Bit podcast. Also, both of them and myself, a part of Integrity Sports Network there on the baseball podcast. So, starting with you, Aaron. How we doing? It's the weekend now. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's supposed to be a good weekend, right? I don't know. I don't know how the weather's going over there in Pennsylvania. We got rain already here over the weekend, so fantastic stuff. But how we doing today?
Yeah, it's we're alive and well tonight because the weather out here is really, really nice right now. So can't complain. Ready for, another series with the MLB, obviously, going strong. And, NBA playoffs, good weather, cooking out. I mean, you can't complain. Nothing at all to complain about, really.
You can't complain. It's a good time. It's a good time in sports right now. The only thing that beats it is March Madness. Opening day of baseball, March Madness, right in the same time. It's the only thing that beats it. Kyle, how we doing? I know yesterday, a little depressing there watching that game, but hey, and live to see another day, right? Another game. There's another game coming up today here. How we doing? How we doing on this weekend here?
I mean, I'm good. The Red Sox lost game 1 against the Brewers. It's all good. They got to the ace, Cutter Crawford. I'm just kidding. He's not really the ace, but I'm interested to see how they recover the next 2 games because I'll give it to the Brewers. Pretty good lineup against their pitching, and a lot of their guys seem to have like really good approaches at Fenway. So I want to see what they can do tomorrow. But yeah, other than that, I'm all good.
Good to hear. Good to hear right there. I want to start there. I want to start with that Brewers and Red Sox game that we watched last night. And, I mean, heading into it, I did not expect this final score. I mean, we were talking about in the group there a little bit, and I said I was surprised. I was honestly surprised. Brewers coming off a rough series offensively against them Miami Marlins down there. Then they head up to Boston. This is their longest road trip of the season. I mean, it's been a brutal road trip for the Brewers. And starting out the series against Cutter Crawford. Now, like you said, he might not be an ace of the staff, but still a solid pitcher all the way around. I mean, were you surprised the way that the Brewers were kind of able to do what they wanted against Cutter Crawford there? 4 1/3 inning there, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 Ks, a home run given up. Like, that's not something we've seen out of Cutter Crawford so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Brewers hitters were very patient. I feel like Crawford was in the zone a little bit too much. And it seemed like Milwaukee made him pay every time he got too much of the plate. I liked how some of their hitters were fine going the other way with pitches because, a lot of times when you play at Fenway as a road team, if you're a right-handed hitter, you just want to pull over the wall and you can kind of, pull your shoulder out and be early on pitches and you end up, looking a little foolish at times. And then for lefties, it's daunting to hit it out like dead center. I mean, not dead center, but dead like right field. But a lot of great left-handed hitters, when they play at Fenway, they're not afraid to go opposite field and hit one off the wall. And I felt like, the Brewers had some really great approaches at the plate against Crawford. Like you, I was not expecting them to score 7 runs off of Cutter Crawford because he's been such a great surprise this season for the Red Sox. But I mean, the Brewers they're a good team. They have really good hitters. And like you said, they were coming off a series where they struggled. But, with certain players, they're still going to be confident at the plate. And the Brewers just look like a really confident team against Cutter Crawford tonight. Well, last night, yeah. So, like I said, I'll see what they do the next 2 games. But I really liked the way that the Brewers attacked Crawford.
Aaron, expected outcome in game 1, was this kind of what you were seeing? Or, I mean, Brewers win, Brewers loss, anything in this realm of what we saw last night where it's kind of just a barrage? And I wouldn't even say it was just the Brewers. I thought the Red Sox hit the ball very well. It's just they didn't have timely hits. Brewers had timely hits. Red Sox just couldn't find that hit with guys on.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's the AL East bias. I know the Sox don't have an outstanding record on the year. Like, not trying to take a shot at them, Kyle. It's just the fact of the matter. It's not like they're up there 35 wins or something like that. So, but I do always, like I said, I mean, maybe there is a little bit of bias. Like I said, like these AL East teams go play the NL Central, or these AL East teams go play whoever, right? Like the Tigers, the AL Central or something. And I just always kind of give the AL East team at least a little bit of an upper hand, just because it feels like in the AL East, like every time you play a division team, it's tough. Like you could play the Rays, it's tough. You could play the Red Sox, it's tough. The Yankees, the Orioles. I mean, now the Orioles, they were a dumpster fire for so long, but now they're a competitive team. And so, with that being said, I mean, I thought Cutter Crawford on the mound. Brewers kind of scuffling lately. I mean, Red Sox, I think, were like 5-5 in the last 10 too. So it's not like they were lighting the world on fire, but I just thought, get right game maybe for the Red Sox at home at Fenway Friday night. But hey, I mean, tip your cap to the Brewers. They got the hits when they needed to. I mean, you knock a starting pitcher out. He had 4 1/3 or 4 2/3.
Yep, 4 1/3.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing your job. Like if he can't even get through 5 innings, that's where you want to be as an offense. So yeah, more credit to them tonight. We'll see. I mean, it'll be the way I look at it. Like, yes, the Brewers would help the Orioles. So sure, I'm all on board for that. But I kind of want to see the series go 1-1, just because then it would be fun, the banter back and forth between you guys. Because then Sunday is like the win it all game. So.
Oh yeah. You got to have the banter along with it. It's not like getting after a Cubs fan, but you got to get after Kyle when you can, right? I mean, you got to. Those Boston fans out there, they got the Celtics rolling still, and they need the Red Sox too. So switching gears there. I mean, the Red Sox, they hit very well. 9 hits on the game last night. It's not like they were pushovers. They were hitting the Brewers pitching just as much as the Brewers were hitting the Red Sox there. But 11 hits for the Brewers, 7 runs. They had a couple of home runs there scattered out. And like you said, Kyle, I mean, the Brewers going the opposite way. That was the big thing that I saw in there. Adames willing to take that pitch the opposite way there off the right field fence. Something that Adames usually doesn't do there. You look at the Brewers lineup. Trag did struggle in the leadoff spot, but then you had Contreras, 2 for 4. We saw Yelich go 3 for 4, and then Adames 2 for 4 in this game. I don't know if it's just me. I want to know you guys' perspective on the outside. But Contreras, Yelich, those guys have been hitting. But if the Brewers get Adames going, he's up to 244 now. He's been scuffling as of late. But if they get a guy like Adames going, and then you add Rhys Hoskins back into the lineup, he's still on the injured list right now, but he's going to be on the way back. You add him back into that lineup. I think the Brewers might have the best lineup in the NL Central. I know the Cubs have a decent lineup. The Cardinals are starting to hit the ball better now. The Reds they seem like they're always dangerous. The Pirates, I don't know what to think about the Pirates. They're kind of just floating. The only thing that's keeping them relevant is Paul Skeens right now. That's about it with the Pirates. Other than that, they've been kind of a struggle bus since the start of the year. But I mean, to you guys, looking at that kind of comparison, you have a guy in the leadoff spot in Trag who is batting 302 yet. I mean, he's had a struggling first night there, but the guy's been hitting the baseball. So if the Brewers were to get a guy like Adames going and he starts to hit the baseball consistently, could you see this Brewer team, I mean, potentially having one of the most dangerous lineups, if not just in the NL Central, but in the NL?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that because, like you're saying, because kind of going with the game 1, with those 3 doing so well, that helped cover for some of the other guys who weren't able to get on base, but they got good run production out of those 3, whereas the Red Sox didn't get anything from Devers, O'Neill, or Wong, who's been pretty good for them so far this year. And just like looking at the left on base, like the Red Sox left everybody on base, whereas the Brewers didn't leave as many guys on base. That just means they took advantage of the opportunities that they had in front of them. So yeah, if you can lengthen your lineup to where you have 4, 5 legitimate guys that pitchers have to worry about, yeah, you're kind of ahead of the game, because a lot of these lineups you're looking at maybe 3, 4 hitter are a little dangerous. 5 is a guy who might be a little streaky. And then you get like 6, 7, 8, 9. You're just hoping and praying one of them is hitting at the right time. So if you can have 4 guys in the middle of your lineup that can run, produce, can get timely hits, you're doing something pretty good. And we know that Rhys Hoskins is a guy that, he's been known to come up in big moments and get those kind of hits. And I mean, we talked about it like before, like the NL Central is a division where it's usually a hard fought division. And if you come out of it, like you accomplish something, because there's like really steady teams in that division outside of like, the Pirates and Reds, even though the Reds are kind of on the come up, but between like the Brewers, Cubs, and Cardinals, those are usually 3 pretty good teams, and one of them usually comes out of there. So, yeah, I like the Brewers lineup for me watching them the first time against the Red Sox. I like the possibilities there.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of took a quick glance at the stats on the year. I mean, the Brewers are, as far as runs scored, they're 5th, and in batting average, they're 6th. So I mean, that's nothing to that's nothing to frown at really at all, because I mean, what surprises me, and like I still am not, I'm not on board with like the Royals being a contender all year. I just think they're not going to have enough come August, September, and so on and so forth. Like if they even get to the postseason, which I don't think they have it, but I mean they're up there too. So not to say these stats aren't like they're not going to stay this way, but I mean so far so good for the Brewers. I mean you have teams like the Phillies are first in runs, Dodgers are second, Yankees third. So I mean those are some powerhouses just to like keep up, to be in the top 5 with the Brewers there. That's impressive. I don't follow the Brewers nearly as much as you, Trajan. I mean, obviously, but it's like outside of Yelich, Contreras, Hoskins, I'm just like, I mean, this is a bunch of guys to me because I don't know. They're not household names. Like, that doesn't mean they're not good. I don't hear about them. So, I mean, yeah, if you can get Adames swinging a good bat, I mean, Rhys Hoskins is another one of those guys where you'll like for 3 weeks he will hit the crap out of the ball. I mean, he'll hit, 5, 6 home runs in 2 weeks, maybe even more sometimes. And then for 3 weeks, he'll hit $150. So like you live and die with those type of guys. But if he can just kind of stay consistent, which I mean, none of those guys really do, those all out power hitters. But yeah, I mean, if he can give you those, 5, 6, 7 home runs in a couple of weeks, like he can, and then Adames is hitting the ball good. I mean, Joey Ortiz coming over from the Orioles, doing a great job. I didn't expect that. I thought he would struggle, to be honest with you. I didn't know if he was really MLB ready, but I mean, good contact hitter. He actually has some pop too, which definitely didn't see that coming either. So yeah, I mean, if they can just stay consistent, the wild card to me is like how healthy does Yelich stay? Because that's kind of his, no pun intended, that's his Achilles heel. So if he can stay healthy, I mean, yeah, they're definitely a lineup to be reckoned with.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I mean, Joey Ortiz, like you said, the surprising part was the pop. We've seen him go to left. We've seen him go to right for home runs now. I mean, it's a surprising amount of pop there, especially for a guy who wasn't known for it when coming over to Milwaukee there. But sticking with Rhys Hoskins, I mean, I was talking about it a couple weeks ago on here before Rhys was actually injured there. The Brewers don't use Rhys as much as you would think. It's, spotty starts here and there. We're not really an everyday guy. We're kind of playing him in a platoon role, and it really gets to me. It irritates the crap out of me because, and I don't know if I'm wrong in saying this, and I want to know what you guys had to think about it, but Rhys is in a contract year. He's got the option with the Brewers next year, but Rhys is playing for a big payday right now. He's not making a boatload with Milwaukee right now. He doesn't want to stay right where he is. I mean, if the Brewers gave him a pay raise, heck yeah, he'd stay for it, right? But he wants to get that next big payday. He just took a small one with the Brewers to try and get back. Now, to me, that's a guy who's going to be hungry, and if you put him in there every day, he's going to show you some pop, like you said there, Aaron. I mean, the guy's going to go through weeks where he's hitting the ball like crazy, and he might go through a drought. But I think you got to weather that storm with a guy like that. He's a guy where if you look at the Brewers lineup, he's the thump. He's that thump in the middle of the lineup that you want in there, just because even if he's not hitting, guys are still scared of him. They still don't want to pitch to him. So it's going to add a little bit more. Like, you don't want to put Yelich on and pitch to Hoskins, because if you put Yelich on, the odds of him stealing second, pretty high. The odds of Hoskins hitting him in then, pretty high. So, to me, I'm a guy who says Hoskins needs to be in there, either at first or the DH spot. You got to work him into one or the two. I like Gary Sanchez at times. He has hit well for the Brewers. I'm not going to say he's a 300 hitter. I'm not going to say, he's bumped 250, but he's a solid bat for the Brewers. He's a power threat in his own, but it's just Rhys Hoskins. It just seems like a guy where he's going to have the drive and he's going to want to hit well in this season here. So, just looking at that, what do you guys think? He has played a decent amount this year, but he gets these spotty off days in there. He doesn't get in the lineup. What do you guys think about that? Would you be, if you were in the Brewers' shoes, is that your everyday DH/first baseman? Does he need to be in one of those spots?
Kind of like Aaron, I just took a quick look at the stats, and he's up there in terms of extra base hits. So he brings something more than necessarily just home run power. Like, extra base hits are key, especially when you have guys in front of him like a Yelich, who, if he's on second, you float one into the gap, he's scoring easily. You could probably score from first on some of those plays. So I feel like he's a guy who probably should be in the lineup more often than not. And like you said, contract year, you'll see certain guys kind of outperform necessarily what they normally do, because they're trying to get that contract. So it's kind of odd that he doesn't play regularly, although I know that you said he's injured or whatever now. But yeah, I'd have him in there somewhere. If it's not DH, you want to put somebody else at DH to give them a day off in the field, find somewhere to put him. A bat like that you should have in the lineup more days than not during the week. So I agree, he should have regular playing time.
Aaron, he's near and dear to your heart out there in Philly. You've seen the guy for years. What are your opinions? Is this a guy that needs to be in the lineup every day as much as possible?
Well, I think you can make the argument that Rhys over Harper. He was more of a vocal leader in the locker room. Like, everybody said, this team goes as Rhys Hoskins goes, basically. Yeah, there's going to be, your Harpers and Trey Turner, and that lineup's loaded. JT Realmuto, the list goes on and on. But Rhys Hoskins is, we saw it against the Mets. He's a guy that'll stir the pot too. He's not a backseat type of guy. So he'll motivate the guys. He'll, if he's in there, he's kind of playing a leadership role as well as being, a great power hitter, a great extra base hitter. My thing with Rhys Hoskins, it was really the only thing that was frustrating about him is that guy's never, and I say never say never, but never. He's never going to win a Gold Glove. He is, his hands are made of bricks or something, because the ball will come right to him sometimes and he'll drop it. I've never seen a first baseman that can't scoop the way he can. He'll scoop it and then the ball will pop out. It's just I don't understand, but hey, that's why, the NL getting that DH role. He's the perfect DH. He is a power hitter. He's a guy that actually doesn't hit for a horrible average too, usually. He's not I'm seeing Kyle Schwarber pop up here. He's hitting 210. That guy can't hit above. He probably weighs.
Bats leadoff too. Don't forget, Bats leadoff.
Kyle, you remember on the Red? He's only there half a year, but that guy just can't hit for average to save his life. Hoskins, right. He can. So I'd plot him in that DH role 9 times out of 10. I don't even think he's a guy that's a lefty righty splits guy. I think he can hit lefties too, if I remember correctly. I know he can hit righties, but it is interesting, because you would think, well, if I'm Brewers management, the GM, all the way down to the manager, we're probably thinking he's not coming back here, because small market team, if he does well, he'll go on to one of these bigger market teams. That's just usually how it goes. So you want to squeeze every last ounce of him out you got, but maybe they're thinking, we're going to be a playoff team. We need him healthy. Big injury last year. Torn ACL, you just don't see that in baseball. So I mean, maybe they're kind of being a little bit cautious with him. Come June, July, I mean, you could see him playing every day. I wouldn't be surprised, but like I said, I don't know your guys who you utilize at first base, but I'd be willing to bet they're better at defense than Rhys Hoskins is.
Do you guys might remember he was in the AL East. Jake Bauers. He was with the Yankees last year.
Jake Bauers. I remember that.
Plays a little bit of outfield and first base. He's now with the Brewers. He plays first base. Well, technically, he's playing first base right now that Hoskins is out. But, I mean, yeah, he's a pretty good defender out there, and he hits a couple bombs here and there. Like, he's not an outstanding hitter, but he's average. He's average there. But you brought up a good something else that I wanted to bring up there, and that was the splits, righties and lefties. And the Brewers went through a series with the Marlins where Bryce Terang, we talked about a little bit earlier there. He's hitting above 300. He was actually 310 heading into that Marlins series and did not start a game. Did not start a game in that series because the Marlins rolled out 3 lefties in a row. So Bryce Terang did not start in a single game. We saw him late in games as pinch runner, maybe defender late in the game, but did not see him in the starting lineup. He's a Gold Glove caliber second baseman, and the guy can hit. Now, the thing that irritates me is I get matchups. I completely understand matchups, righties, lefties. Sometimes you want to load up and stuff like that. But to me, in a 3-game set, I get if you want to give him a day off. But 3 days off, that's telling me that you don't trust him against lefties. So, I mean, this is hypothetical because I don't think the Marlins are going to make the playoffs. But what happens if you were to face the Marlins in the playoffs and you're going to tell me that you're one of your best hitters, right? As of right now, I don't know if it'll stay that way, right? But it's early. But if it does, he's hitting 300. You're not going to play him against the Marlins in the playoffs. My big thing is that I get a day off here and there, maybe against a matchup, to give a matchup elsewhere. But I still feel like those guys got to get some at-bats against lefties, against righties, whatever it is, and kind of mix them in there. Because I feel like otherwise you get to the later in the season, they haven't faced lefties in a while. It could be a little bit more difficult on that guy to try to, track lefties. They got different mojos, different, arm slots, everything like that on the left side. It's coming in at a different angle. That can be hard to key in on late in the season. So I just want to know from you guys' perspective, hearing something like that where one of the best hitters on the Brewers team is sitting out 3 games because they're starting a lefty and he's a lefty, does that make sense to you? Or would you guys be more towards the, maybe a day off and then you put a righty in there and then you go back to him in game 2 just to, give him some at-bats?
Yeah, I feel like a guy with a bat like that, just because you're facing a lefty 3 straight days, I feel like you have to throw him out there at least one day because lefty on lefty is a tough matchup necessarily, but usually better hitters can find a way to get at least a hit or 2 in that kind of situation. So, yeah, I would throw him out there. I wouldn't sit him for a whole series because, like I said, if you were in a playoff situation and you went up against a team with 3 straight lefties, which is pretty rare, but you would go through a playoff series and potentially sit a guy who leads your team to home runs, is a team one amongst the team leaders, extra base hits, walks as well. That's kind of tough to kind of sell me that you're going to keep a guy like that out for 3 straight days. So I don't believe in that strategy at all.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of echo Kyle's point, I mean, the Orioles do that quite a lot with Ryan Mountcastle murders lefties. So every time there's a lefty in there, he's in there. And then the second first baseman they use, Ryan O'Hearn, he can't hit lefties at all. So it just plays out that way. So it's okay, there's a lefty in there, Mountcastle's always going to be in there, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. But what the Orioles do a lot is, and I mean, granted, neither of those guys are making a lot of money. So, I mean, if Mountcastle starts and then let's say the Orioles knock him out in the 6th, 7th inning, whatever, then, if they bring in a righty, then, okay, insert Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn comes in and faces the righty. And, usually he'll stay in and play the rest of the game at first base. So, I mean, I think just because a lefty's starting all 3 games. Like if I'm looking at that, like okay, I'm sure a righty came in that game at some point left, unless he went a complete game, which I don't think he did. So
No.
I would bring him in at least to face those righties. I would start him at least one of those 3 games. I wouldn't let him sit all 3. I mean, same goes for the Orioles. I mean, I think like O'Hearn's such a wild card for us just because he was on Kansas City, he was a nobody, and now he's put up like pretty damn good numbers on the Orioles, surprisingly. But like a guy that's like Kyle said, at top of the team and extra base hits, this and that. You just can't let a commodity like that just sit on the bench. Like I don't. And how are you going to get better against lefties if you never face them either? Like I know managers are all about matchups, pinch hitter that, put this pitcher in for 2 batters and this and that. But sometimes you just got to let those guys gain confidence because if they know, hey, I'm gonna, we're coming up facing 3 lefties, I'm not going to play. That player's going to get irritated. I mean, I'm not saying he would go to these extents, but he might be like, well, I wish I was on a team that they'd play me no matter what. Like, and these guys think like that, because like they're there for a reason. So, I mean, either they play him, he struggles, or, you sit him and just kind of avoid it. But I say you get him in there more and more as the season goes on. Hopefully he finds a way to hit lefties. But if he doesn't, I mean, you kind of live and die with your best players, I would say. Maybe late in the game, I'm all for pinch hitters. Like I Kyle does it to me in the show all the time. But it's it's just one of those things.
No, yeah. I mean, you guys are 100% correct. And you look at Bryce Trag, he leads the team in stolen bases, too. So you keep a guy like that off the field, that's something that puts pressure on pitchers. You look at the Brewers series versus the Marlins, they lost 2 out of 3. Maybe he changes that 1-0 game, but you'll never know because you had Monasterio in there who's hitting 190 on the year there. So, I mean, not solid. He had a good series. I'm not going to say Monasterio didn't have a good series against the Marlins there, but Bryce Trag's batting 300. He's only got 18 at-bats against lefties on the year. So if we're going to take that as the sample size to tell us that he can't hit them, he's hitting like 220-something against lefties. Screw it. Put him in there. Put him in there and let him ride. That's all I know. So, I mean, just one last thing with the Brewers. I just wanted, we've talked about on Integrity Sports or on the baseball podcast, we talked about the NL Central, a little bit of a preview and where teams would finish. The Brewers are up top right now, but the starting pitching staff for the Brewers is brutal. Like, there isn't much to look at to say, like, back in the day, 2018, Burns. You had Burns around. You had Gio Gonzalez around. You had Ulysses Chassin. Like, the Brewers were sitting solid. And then years after, you had Burns, Woodruff, Peralta. Like, you looked at the rotation, you said, good. You looked at the lineup, you said, crap. Like, this isn't going to end well. Now, you got Freddie Peralta left. He's been scuffling a little bit as of late. That ERA is sitting around 3.81. After that, it goes downhill. We got, travel men like Joe Ross. We got, right now, Colin Ray, who's been struggling as of late. They bringing up rookies left and right. We got Robert Gasser up, who has pitched well in this young season of his and his young debut. But outside of that, I mean, DL Hall still on the shelf right now, working his way back. Wade Miley goes on the shelf for the year. Jansen Junk is down in the minors yet, but Jacob Junis, right after he hurts himself, he's slowly coming back. He gets hit in the head by a fly ball in the outfield and ends up in an ambulance. Like, the Brewers pitching staff is in shambles right now. Do you think, to me, the Brewers got to add something? They got to add something. I don't know what it is, but they have to add something. I'm looking at Trevor Bauer, and I'm licking my chops right now saying, please just sign this guy because it cannot be worse than what we got going on right now. But to you guys, I mean, would you go out there, even sign a guy like Zach Greinke, who's still out in free agency? I mean, there's a lot of random names. Now, would they benefit you? I don't know. Like, you never know. Maybe Zach Greinke comes in, he gives you a 3 ERA. Wade Miley's 40 years old, and he's not 40 yet. I think he's in his late 30s, but he's been giving you solid years. So what tells you that Zach Greinke couldn't do it in Milwaukee? But, I mean, to me, the Brewers got to go out and they got to find something, whether it's in a trade or, free agency or Trevor Bauer. I understand why people maybe think against Trevor Bauer. To me, he wants league minimum. If he's a problem, they can dump him off faster than they got him. It's not like it's going to be that big of a deal. But I just look at this Brewers pitching staff, and I love where we're sitting in the division. I like the offense. The bullpen is okay. I mean, we're still waiting for Devin Williams to come back. Omni Uribe, I believe he should be done with his suspension by now. We're just waiting for him down there in AAA. But, I mean, outside of that, the bullpen's been solid. They've been solid work this year. I just look at that starting pitching staff and I say, I don't know if the Brewers have enough starters to get themselves over the hump. You're going to have the Cubs. You're going to get in the dog days of summers, and the Cubs are going to be behind you. The Cardinals have won 8 out of the last 10. Like, that team has got a good pitching staff. They're getting scary because they're right on the tails now, and I just feel like the Reds are going to find some lightning in a bottle, and they're going to start to win games. So, to you guys, I mean, can the Brewers keep pace with the starting pitching staff that they have right now? And if you were the Brewers, are you going out there, free agency, Trevor Bauer, whatever it is, and trying to find somebody out there?
I mean, most teams can always use an extra pitcher or two. And that's kind of a problem you're going to run into, is that if you get to the trade deadline or whatever, and you try to find a, not necessarily top flight pitcher, but even like a 2-3 starter type of guy, there's a good chance there's probably 8 or 9 other teams that'll be chasing that same player. And then at that point, it gets into, what are you willing to give up instead of, other teams. But I mean, yeah, why not? If the opportunity presents itself, you kind of have to do it, because if you have a chance to win that division, that gives you a shot in the playoffs. And once you get into the playoffs, we've seen in the MLB, anything can happen. But you don't want to go into it and be like Blue Jays, where they'll make the playoffs if they do, and the first thing you wonder is, can their pitching staff do anything in the playoffs? And you don't want to be in a situation like that. If you're going to go down swinging, at least give the image that you're trying to do everything you can to put the team in the best position. So I looking at those ERAs, they definitely need to get somebody, if not two. I mean, I'm not really sure in terms of guys that are out there that they would really be interested in. I mean, Bauer, you bring up, I mean, we know like some of his off the mound issues are obviously why he's not with a team right now, but all it takes is one team to give him a shot, see what he has. I mean, why not? Why not in Milwaukee? So yeah, they definitely should go ahead and try to get somebody.
Yeah, 100%.
I do like the Greinke name. I will say that. I do like you threw out Greinke. I mean, as a 4th, 5th starter, why not? Take a chance on him.
Bring that weird son of a gun back to Milwaukee. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I would take the weird back in Milwaukee. You bring him in and Trevor Bauer, you're going to have some anger and some weird. It's going to be just a whole combo. And then Rhys Hoskins just in the corner beating his head against the wall because he can't handle it.
Yeah, I think Rhys Hoskins would probably choke Greinke out in like 2
there's a good chance.
I don't think Rhys Hoskins has like he has a short fuse to me, I think, but it's not always a bad thing. But like with a guy like Greinke, yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. I almost all the time agree with what Kyle's saying. And like, here's another example. I'm not so high on, like, I'd leave Zach Greinke alone. I'd go for somebody a little bit less miles on their odometer there. I mean, Greinke's got a ton of innings. Not to say he couldn't be effective. He probably still could, but I mean, you can never have enough pitching. Like, you literally could have, 6 great starting pitchers, and in the postseason, if 2 of those guys struggle, you could be in trouble. Like, that quick, you could, lose a playoff series and everything like that. So yeah, the Brewers always pride themselves on starting pitching and bullpen. Like, as long as I remember, they've been solid at the very least. And like, you're starting, this year, like, that Corbin Burns trade obviously is the first thing that comes to my mind, just because like he was the ace. But then you look, I brought up Wade Miley. I mean, he's on the 60-day IL, but I mean, he pitched in basically 7 innings and has a 7 ERA. My thing is, you don't know what you're going to get when he comes back. I mean, he's 37 years old.
He ain't coming back. Tommy John's.
Okay, so he's not even. That's yeah.
He might be career donezo. Like, that might have been the last time we saw Wade Miley.
I think why don't more teams kind of work with a little bit of sense of urgency in May and June before the deadline? Because like Kyle said, I mean, starting pitching at the deadline's a premium. Like I remember the Phillies gave up a crap ton to get Michael Lorenzen last year for half a year, and I mean he didn't even hardly pitch in the postseason, and the Rangers ended up signing him. So I mean they gave up some touted prospects in their system that. I mean, prospects are prospects, but we don't know. I mean, they could turn into something, and then you gave up, 2-3 guys that, could be effective in the future for a rental guy who didn't really contribute all that much. So, yeah, I mean, I would try and like you said, the Cardinals are not that far behind. That team would scare me if I was, a fan of a team in that division because they're just solid every single year. It seems like outside of like last year. But yeah, I mean, you gotta put the gas pedal down and try and get a guy you can count on. I mean, outside of like Freddie Peralta and a couple guys there. I mean, like Kyle said, you can't have enough pitching. So we talked about this the other day. I mean, Trajan said that he doesn't think Trevor Bauer will be in the league this year. I probably don't either. I mean, I'm leaning that way too, but I mean, league minimum. I don't understand why. Like in the NFL, we've seen guys that the Deshaun Watson thing. Ray Rice. Yeah, he was out for a year or two, but then he came back. Like there's been a lot of situations in the NFL, and the guys are still in the league. Trevor Bauer was not. He's never pleaded guilty to my knowledge. So, I just don't. I don't quite get it. I mean, I know there'd be a fallout from it, but there's been worse things that have went on, and the NFL still stays strong. I don't think baseball would really take a massive hit if he's coming in and like Deshaun Watson got $250 million guaranteed. This guy wants the league minimum, so why not? I mean, any team. Why does not any team go for this guy right now? Like, beats me.
It doesn't, I compare the Trevor Bauer thing to Dennis Rodman with the Bulls. When the Bulls got Dennis Rodman, he was a lunatic. Like, this guy was just nuts. And Jordan said, we need this guy. Like, this is the kind of smoke we need on this team. And he went to Phil Jackson. He said, Phil, if we get this guy, can you coach him? Can you control him? And he said, I can control him. Jordan said, okay, sign him up. That's what I'm doing. If I'm the GM of Milwaukee, Matt Arnold, I'm walking into the clubhouse and I'm walking to my main guys, Contreras, Adames, Yelich, and I'd say to them, hey, if I bring in Trevor Bauer, do you guys think you can play with him? If they say yes, I go to Pat Murphy, manager of the Brewers. I say, Pat, do you think that you can manage Trevor Bauer? You can control him. If he says yes, sign him up. If you have the clubhouse behind Trevor Bauer, I think it's all good. The thing with it is that he wants league minimum. And if Trevor Bauer's just looking for a shot back in the league, do we think he's going to throw a temper tantrum on the field trying to earn a spot back in the major leagues? I don't think so. I think it honestly will change him a little bit because he knows he doesn't have a long leash. He knows this team is giving him a shot basically out of the kindness of their heart. They're taking a shot on him for league minimum. He's not going to mess up. He wants that next payday. So I feel like maybe down the road he might do it again, right? He might have this blow up on the field where he throws the ball over the center field fence. Like, he might do that down the road. But I feel like that first year, he's not going to do anything. He's gonna be blessed and just feel good that he is back in the league. I mean, I don't know. Have you guys seen those videos he does all the time with those other guys in the batting cages and everything like that? I can't remember what the heck they call themselves. They have some show that they do, and they'll like make random bats and they'll swing them, or he'll pitch in the cages. And I mean, to me, the guy seems like a stand-up guy in that atmosphere. Maybe he's changed a little bit. Maybe he's become a little more humble. I don't know. I don't know on it. But, the big thing is, like you said, the NFL, we got Deshaun Watson. The dude's got the most guaranteed money out of anybody, and he could have went to jail within his first year in Cleveland. And yet they gave him that bag of money and said, here you go. This is the pay for, if you got to get out of jail, here's your bail money. I mean, this is basically what it is right here. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense why we're blacklisting this guy for, like you said, not being guilty of anything to our knowledge, anything that's been proven in court, not guilty. And yet other guys in other sports have been basically proven guilty and nothing. We get nothing out of it. Ray Lewis and Deshaun Watson, Ben Roethlisberger. Wasn't it Tyreek Hill who beat his girlfriend on live video and nothing came out of it? Wasn't that Tyreek Hill that time, or was that Kareem Hunt? Wasn't it Hunt too? I thought it was both of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a long list. Tyreek Hill, Hunt, I mean, Hardy. Hardy's the one
Yes,
with the,
yes.
like the guns on the bed, the girlfriend and everything like that. So, like, certain leagues are okay with that, while other ones, and I get it, because image equals dollars, which equals ads and all that kind of stuff. So leagues do have to worry about that. But it's like you said, if the team leaders say, bring them in, we'll handle them, why not? And like I said, he's just trying to make a way back into the league. So you don't have to sign to like 3-4 years. You give him a 1-year deal. You tell him, look, we're giving you an opportunity. It's all up to you at this point. If you pitch well, obviously, we'll negotiate with you guys at the season, or maybe some other team comes in and swoops in and takes you off for another couple of years or something, but you're going to have to kind of be on your best behavior. Like, why not? One team will have to do it to really help him out, but it's all about image and whether or not your clubhouse could handle the potential of him messing all that up. But I'd take a shot. Why not?
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, just league minimum and roll some incentives. Like, give him some. You get this many strikeouts, you get this much money. You get ejected, or you cause a ruckus, you get penalized this much money. Like, you could throw anything you want into that contract. I would just tell Rhys Hoskins, like, hey, this guy gets out of line, you take care of him. Like, that'd be simple as that. I feel like Rhys would be like, all right, I'm in. Like, you don't have to tell me twice. I'll take care of this guy. I mean, it's just, I don't get it. Like you said, Aaron, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense why nobody has called this guy, or at least given him a shot. I would give him a shot, and worst comes to worst, you cut him. Like, league minimum, $700 some $1,000. You cut the guy. I feel like you're still okay. You're still doing okay. You took a shot. It failed. But, like you said, the image thing, what if he comes to the Brewers, you sign him up, he comes to the Brewers, you win a World Series with Trevor Bauer leading the way? Like, first World Series the Brewers have ever had. You end the 41-year drought that the Brewers have had of no pennants. What do you say then? Like, you could be ticked off at ownership all the way until that point, but then what do you do? Brewer fans will have to say, well, he might be this bad guy, but man, he pitched well. Like, it just, there's so many variables in it. It's like, why not give him a shot? What do we really have to say about it? If the guy pitches well, so be it. If he comes to the ballpark, doesn't talk to anybody, pitches and goes home, sure. Like, if he gives me 7 innings, doesn't talk to anybody and walks out, that's good enough for me. I don't need him to be a clubhouse guy. I got enough clubhouse guys down there. I just need some solid pitching, and I feel like he'd be some solid. He'd give you the solid there. So with that, I mean, let's get out of baseball. I got to talk about his cream of the crop right now. His cream of the crop. We got the Boston Celtics. 2-0 over the Indiana Pacers. I'm a big fan of Boston right now. I'm a big fan. I don't like the Pacers. I've voiced that multiple times here on the show. Everybody knows it, how much my hatred runs deep for the Pacers. But, I mean, what have you watching the Celtics series, Game 2, we didn't see Tatum lead the way. We saw Brown lead the way. And I thought, that really shows the Celtics full fold, because it doesn't have to be just Tatum doing it. You got 2 stars on that team, and man, oh man, they're showing out in this series. So what have you liked about what you've seen so far between the Boston Celtics and Indiana Pacers? And if there's anything that worries you so far watching this series?
I mean, the maturation process between Tatum and Brown is something that I've been kind of fascinated with, because early in their careers, the question was, could they play together? Do they like each other? Do they respect each other? All this kind of stuff. It seems like this year and a little bit last year, they have really put in an effort to play better together. And we're seeing it now, where if Jaylen Brown has it going, Tatum is fine letting him do that. And I feel like that's what we've seen, especially in Game 2. From the minute they tipped off, Jaylen Brown was locked in. And, Tatum picked his spots early on to try to contribute. He couldn't really shoot well early on, but Jaylen Brown was there to pick them up when they needed a basket. And then in the second half, Tatum did his thing while Brown was going as well. So I feel like with those two, the Celtics will probably take care of the Pacers. I did like their defensive intensity in game two. I thought they were much better than they were in game one, which is why Indiana had that lead late. But then they had their own issues with execution, which allowed the Celtics to get back into it and then win it in overtime. Now, going forward, you got game three Saturday in Indiana. But now we got to worry about Halliburton, if you're a Pacers fan, that hamstring. Same one that kept him out for 10 games early on in the season. It seems like the more and more like I'm reading about it, it's like I don't think the Pacers are optimistic he's going to play Saturday night. So now you're dealing with a situation where, like Siakam, I'm not the biggest Siakam guy, but he's able to seek out mismatches. Like game two, he kind of found himself on like Holiday a lot, and he'd shoot a little turnaround, he'd make it. That's all well and good. But now if Halliburton isn't there, that makes it easier for the Celtics to guard him in a game three. And then it's just gonna be, is Siakam that guy to lead this Pacers group to a winning game three? Because if they lose game three, I don't know what to expect from them in game four. They might put in like a quarter of effort and then just realize, what are we wasting our time here for? Because even if we fight and win game four, we still got to go back to Boston for game five. And yeah, I don't know if we want to deal with that. So game three is where the Celtics can win this series, which would mean, if they sweep in four, you get 10 days off before the finals start, which helps Porzingis, who looks like he might play game four. And that might be important for him because you don't want his first game back to be game one of the finals after missing several weeks. So I'm hoping like the West goes on like 7 games, obviously, so those two teams tire themselves out. But I really like where the Celtics are right now. I know this might hurt Trajan, but Holiday's playing really well.
It always hurts.
Holiday looks really good. I mean, he's been posting up a lot more, which I love to see him do, because there's not many point guards that want to deal with him in the post. Indy's throwing out there like TJ McConnell and like Nemhard and guys like that. Yeah, Holiday can body those guys in the post. And I feel like that's a situation where even if they're struggling a little bit, you put Holiday down there, throw it to him, he can get you a bucket. So I just like how they're playing right now.
I honestly think that was the biggest ad of the offseason for the Celtics, was getting Drew Holiday. Like, I think he completes them. I'm not saying that Celtics aren't good without Drew Holiday, because you still have Tatum, you still have Brown. Porzingis has been playing very well this year and has been relatively healthy. I thought that was the most surprising thing, I guess I would say, with Porzingis is years past, it's always been injury-plagued season after injury-plagued season. Mm-hmm. This one, outside of the playoffs, he's been relatively healthy. But Drew Holiday, it just seems like he completes that team, and it's like he did in Milwaukee. It seems like that was the thing they were missing, was that good defensive guard who wasn't afraid to take her down in the post. And I know you were talking about his struggles there guarding Siakam, but that's one dude who will step up there and he'll try it. You get some of these guards down in the post against Siakam, they're just going to back off like, you're going to score or whatever, dude. But Drew Holiday will be right up in his grill. He's going to make it tough. Siakam's going to have to hit tough shots. I loved what the Celtics did against Miles Turner, though. Miles Turner has been on a burner in this entire playoffs against the Bucks, against the Knicks. This game in game 2 here, what did he have, 8 points? 8 points on 3 for 7 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3. Solid outing there. That was fantastic in its own right, slowing down Miles Turner. I think that was the big separator in this game, because without Halliburton, Miles Turner can't get going. They don't have a whole lot else there to work with. Obi Toppin off the bench, and then McConnell only plays good against the Bucks. He'll drop 30. What do you have against the Bucks? Like 20 something in game 5 against the Bucks off the bench, and that was more than the Bucks had in their entire starting role. So, I mean, Aaron, watching this series here, I know you're a big Philly guy, and we watched the 76ers get bounced early. We don't have to talk about them too much here. But, I mean, Celtics, Pacers, is this kind of what you saw happening in this series? Was the Pacers were going to finally run into a basically healthy, great team that was going to kind of put the brakes on what they had going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think even with the Knicks, like taking it back to that series, like a full Knicks squad that doesn't have to completely rely on Brunson, like doing everything for them, basically. I think that's a more like, and that was a competitive. I mean, went 7 games. You know what I mean? You can't ask for much more. But as the Phillies are about to blow this game to the Rockies somehow, it's. I mean, I don't know as far as the. I mean, the Celtics have been, Kyle, you know it. They've been knocking on the door since. I mean, I remember when the Celtics played the Cavs with LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like this has been a thing for quite some time with Tatum and Brown. Like there, I just felt like one of these years they're going to get over the hump. I mean, I thought like a lot of their. I mean, I shouldn't say a lot of their problems, but part of their problems in the past were like Brad Stevens. I wasn't sold on that guy, to be honest, being your coach. So, new coach, obviously, new regime there. I just think like Tatum, Brown, they've matured now to where they know what to like. They're not forcing stuff like back and Tatum to me doesn't get the love that he probably should. Like, I'll be the first to tell you I don't like the Celtics pretty much one bit, but I mean, I can give respect where respect's due. Like they're both great players, and Tatum isn't really talked about like he's one of the best, and like you just don't hear the talk of that a lot. And like he can do pretty much anything you ask him to do. So, I mean, I think the Pacers are running out of like the Boston is better than the Pacers, and that's what you're seeing now. And like the fact that Boston didn't have to go super deep in the pass round, and then obviously the Pacers going 7 with the Knicks, and that series was pretty chaotic. So, yeah, I mean, I think maybe they win Game 3. The Pacers do, but I don't see them winning more than 2 games in this series. Like, I don't think it'll go 7. So,
yeah, no, I completely agree. That this Celtics team is playing what we saw. They went to the finals against Golden State. Like you said there, it seems like they were forcing shots. It's like they weren't ready for that moment yet. Steph was ready for that moment. Klay's been there. Draymond's been there. They knew how to handle this new team. Now it's like Tatum and Brown are, like you said, maturing. They're into their own now. Al Horford's a been there, done that dude. Like, he's been around for a while. It seems like he's been around for like 50 years. I mean, I can't remember a day without Al Horford in the league there, but yeah, that series is going to be fantastic. And looking at the flip side, looking at the Western Conference Finals, this is one that I could see going all of it. But right now, the Dallas Mavericks are playing out of their own minds. Luka playing fantastic. They win Game 2. That was last night. They're 109-108. A fantastic finish there. Luka got by Gobert there, ended up finishing at the rim. That was great stuff to watch. I'm not a fan of the T-Wolves. I don't know if it's a Minnesota thing. I don't know if that's why, or if it's that I just, they keep comparing Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan. Maybe that's why I want him to get dropped out of there. I don't know what it is. I saw him. He was waving to the crowd against the Nuggets when they won that Game 7. He was waving goodbye, and Jokic kind of got in his face, and I was hoping for a little bit of a brawl there because Jokic was a little ticked off. I think that's going to add fuel to the fire next year. I cannot wait for that. They're going to play. I mean, they're going to have a series next year. I really do feel that, and I can't wait for it. Because that is going to be a ticked off Jokic heading into that. He's not going to be thinking about racing horses or going to pet his ponies. He's going to be thinking about putting Anthony Edwards and the T-Wolves in the ground. But, I mean, is this a surprise? Like, we've seen the Mavs go up 2-0, playing in, I believe this is in Minnesota, isn't it, for games 1 and 2? Yeah, it's at the Target Center in Minnesota. So this is, I mean, it's almost shaping up like what we saw series before with the T-Wolves, where they went to the Nuggets, won game 1 and 2, and then the Nuggets went to their place. Now we're seeing the Mavs walk into the Target Center and basically hold their own against one of the relatively better teams in the league. So I guess just jumping to you guys there, To me, it's a surprise. I really thought this one was going to go 7. After I saw the Mavs win game 1, I was like, oh, T-Wolves will bounce back game 2. This Mavs team is playing very well. I think, we talked about postseason experience with Tatum and Brown. I think Kyrie is adding a different kind of element this year. It seems like he's fitting in finally, right? We've talked about Kyrie in the past. I know he went to your Celtics and it was just a dumpster fire up in Boston. Like, nobody really wanted him. He didn't really want to be there. It was a bad matchup. The Nets were the same way. It just seemed like too much. I feel like he flows with Luka. I feel like those two together have a different kind of chemistry that we haven't seen probably since Kyrie was with LeBron, and I don't even know if that compares to what we're seeing now. And also Washington in that starting lineup for him, he's been going off in this playoff series. So I guess, is this a surprise to you guys? Whereas we've seen the T-Wolves all year as being one of the better teams in the West, and the Mavs being, they're good, but not crazy good, right? Is this kind of a surprise to see what the Mavs are doing to the T-Wolves right now?
I mean, a little bit, only because I expected this series to go like 7, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they split the first 2. The fact that Dallas went into Minnesota and won both games, I am a little surprised by. Now, one thing that needs to be talked about is Anthony Edwards has really struggled for about 5 straight games now. Because even in game 2, he went, was it 4 for 17 or something like that, or 5 for 17 from the field? I'm sorry, that's not going to cut it. Like, you're dealing with a Dallas team where Luka, you basically pencil him in for 30. That's kind of a given. Now, Kyrie, in those instances, if he can give you 20 to 25, you're feeling good. And then you kind of trickle down from there, whether it's a Washington type of game where he can give you double digits, or, Gafford can be active on the boards and give you points there. I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like Dallas knows who they are, whereas Minnesota, because of Anthony Edwards struggling right now, they're struggling to figure out who they are now. Because if Ant struggles, that puts more on Towns, whereas I don't know if Towns necessarily has that in him to be a volume scorer for you when you need it. Then that also puts more pressure on Gobert, where, offensively, you know what he is? He's a roll to the rim kind of guy. I mean, we've seen him in this postseason hit a couple of jumpers or whatever, but he's more of your rim to rim kind of defender and offensive player. So they need Anthony Edwards to step up. I know everybody's pegging him as the next face of the league, but these last few games does not really help his candidacy to be that. And Aaron, I know you brought up about the Tatum thing, because I do like the fact that you brought that up. Tatum gets crushed like day in and day out for seemingly taking on more of a playmaker role, reducing his points per game, but upping rebounds and playing better defense, and he's getting killed for it, while Anthony Edwards is being regarded as this next great, and he's struggled. The big difference is Anthony Edwards has this personality that, a lot of fans love and connect with. They feel like he's old school, whereas Tatum is like a really boring guy. It's like him, mom, son, that's it. You don't see him, you don't see him going crazy in interviews. You don't see him with a lot of, Anthony Edwards is sitting there doing the DX thing to Denver when they're winning the game. You don't see Tatum doing that. And that's kind of where the two of them kind of split. It's kind of like Jimmy Butler. Like Jimmy Butler, personality, people love him. The coffee shop during the bubble, that became like a big story. You see him doing commercials and everything. Tatum has a few of them, but it's just that he's not an over-the-top type of character. And neither is Jaylen Brown, which also leads to him kind of being somewhat disrespected as well. Even though Jaylen Brown's like a really brilliant guy and would be a great role model for the league, just that the media doesn't, whatever. So, like, game 3 is almost with Indiana. Anthony Edwards has to put on a performance of a lifetime in game 3. Like, Minnesota needs it from him now. He can't He can't do another performance like this and think they're going to win that.
Is it almost... It's like the second they compared Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan, said he was the next Michael Jordan, that's when it went off the tracks.
Yep.
Yeah. It's almost like, did he hear that? Because these guys are all on social media. Did he hear that? And all of a sudden it just flipped in his head like, I'm this guy now. I gotta be this dude. And now the pressure's on. He's pressuring himself to be the next Michael Jordan. It's a little too much for him. He can't hold it. That's something that I was waiting for. The second they said he was the next Michael Jordan, I was like, okay, but can he do this for an entire playoffs? Can he, get to the finals? Can he win the finals? Can he win it without going to game 7? Can he, hold his own? That's what we're going to, like you said, game 3. That's what we're going to see here. I mean, Aaron, do you think, honestly, like maybe that's a little bit of the piece of the puzzle there, a little piece of the pie? Somebody scooped out a little too much there and got a little too much for their filling? I don't know. What happened there with the Anthony Edwards?
I mean, when you have a guy like that, I mean, it's funny, Kyle, talks about how these Boston guys are kind of like business as usual. Like, it just seems like there's something in the water up there, man. Like, with the Patriots, right? I mean, the only personality you could say was like Gronkowski, and even Gronkowski, like, you can deal with that. Like, he's just probably has half a brain. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter.
Half's an overstatement. That's a little too much.
I mean, but the guy catches everything. Like, it's just so it doesn't much matter. Like, but it's just like something with these Boston teams, man. They're tightened up mentally. Like, there's no nonsense. Where like Anthony Edwards to me is kind of like it's I don't know. This might be a real off comparison, but like it feels like Russell Westbrook to me, where it's just like everything he does is 100 miles an hour. Like, his personality is 100 miles an hour. The way he plays is 100 miles an hour. Like, he doesn't know how to play at 75 miles an hour and be effective. Like, it's just he's just, and like him doing that, like the whole DX thing. He's just, I don't know. With a guy like that, you got to be winning, because if you're not winning, it's just like, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, don't do all this crap and then not come out there and ball out, because you're gonna have you're putting the target on your back. Like, I think sometimes like Harper puts a target on his back because he just acts like he's just walking around like, I'm the man and I'm the best ever. So I mean, there is that type of thing. Like with certain guys, like, I mean, Tatum and Brown, they just kind of show, like, they grab their lunch pail and get to work. Like, they're those type of guys. And like, I don't know. I mean, the kid's young, so like, you never know. Like, his career might. I mean, he could be one of the all-time greats. He could be just a above average player. Like, we don't know. We have no idea yet. But like, some of those guys, I mean, I think thrive off, being called the GOAT or whatever. Like, I don't know. I look at like Mahomes. He doesn't really talk about, I'm trying to catch Brady, or I'm trying to win the most. Like, he just like, let's win it this year. Like, I think it rubs off on your teammates when you're me, and like, I want to be in the spotlight and I want to be, the guy all the time. Like, granted, he's a great player, but it just gets for me, it's a little much. So I can only imagine, like, if he's in the locker room, maybe throwing guys on the, like, saying, why are you not playing better? I'm doing everything out here. You don't know. I mean, maybe he's the best team player of all time, but just the way he projects that out, it's like, if you're going to act like that, you better be more consistent than you're playing right now, because it's getting quite annoying, I'm sure, for like T-Wolves fans right now are probably like, okay, come on, man, like, play better or calm it down a little bit.
No, 100% agree. I mean, 100% agree. You got to be winning if you're going to be playing the way that acting the way that he wants to act. It's the same thing we talked about the other day with Tyrese Halliburton wearing the Reggie Miller sweatshirt on the way out. It's like, dude, wear it on the way in. Like, don't wear it after. Don't bring it in your little jump bag there. Wear it after. I just want to make the statement, because I haven't done it yet. There will never be another Michael Jordan. I don't know why we keep trying to make these comparisons to Michael Jordan. There will never be another Mike. Michael Jordan was like, he's the dude. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The way Michael Jordan played the game, watching him, the way that he dunked the basketball, he glided through the air. It wasn't like it was graceful. I mean, it's just, guys are still lining up for his shoes. People that, have never watched this guy play a day in his life, and yet they're lining up to buy his shoes. They don't even know who the guy is. They've never seen him play, yet they're lining up to get his shoes. Like, there will never be another Michael Jordan. That's just, I don't know why people keep trying to make comparisons. I really do think you can compare to LeBron. You can compare guys to LeBron. You can compare guys to maybe even Kobe. But Michael Jordan's just a different kind of cat. I don't know. I want to hear what you guys thought about that. Your opinions on the whole comparisons to Michael Jordan. To me, there will never be another Michael Jordan. Unless if Michael Jordan has some surprise kid out there who's going to come up, Michael Jordan Jr., and just, light up the league. Outside of that, I just don't think there will ever be another Michael Jordan. He was a different kind of character, and I think he was a generational guy who could play in multiple generations. Like, the dude in today's NBA, he would, 60 a night kind of guy. And in the past, he was a 30 a night kind of guy. Like, it's just crazy the way that he played the game. What do you guys think? Will there ever be another Michael Jordan?
No, because that's asking a lot. Because Jordan was a guy that had 2 3-peats, and it's hard enough to win one. To win 3 in a row, we've seen some teams do that. I mean, obviously you go all the way back to like Bill Russell, they won like 7 in a row, but that's obviously not going to happen. But in terms of like the modern era, to win 3 in a row, then obviously Jordan left to play baseball and all that stuff, comes back just to win another 3 in a row. That's a lot to ask of a guy in Anthony Edwards that's 22 to live up to. And that's something where today's media, they just because they just want to be the first one to put it out there, so that if it does come true, they'll be like, see, I called it. But you got to let these guys kind of build somewhat of a resume. Like, if Anthony Edwards just beats Denver and you say, that's the next Michael Jordan, it's like, so what did Michael Jordan win 6 titles for? Why did he win, all those scoring titles, win Defensive Player of the Year, do all that if you're just going to give a guy the comparison after one playoff series? And it's not just him. I heard somebody today compare Luka to Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. It's like, I get it. Luka's 24, but he's never been to a finals. He might have the opportunity to do that this year. But why are we trying to erase guys from history by attaching newer players to them? I never understood that. I don't like that. All this stuff from, newer fans, like, we're done with the 90s and stuff. Yeah, if you watch the 90s, you wouldn't want to be done with it. Because that's when basketball, for me, like growing up just watching basketball in the 90s, like it was just so enjoyable back then. Not to say it's not great now, because everybody's like, the athletes are just better, but that's just like natural progression in like humans. Like, as you keep going down the line, like, humans will become better athletes. But yeah, I hate that the early comparisons, because even for Anthony Edwards, he may be putting pressure on himself to live up to that. And that's just not fair to him as a 22-year-old. So I don't think the comparisons are necessary, although they've done it over the years. Like, Grant Hill was supposed to be the next Michael Jordan. And to be honest, Grant Hill probably could have gotten close if he didn't get injured, played on that bad foot, and then that completely ruined his career. But they've also done it with like Harold Miner. And most people listen to this and go, who was Harold Miner? Exactly. The fact that they called that guy Baby Jordan, and 99% of NBA fans today probably couldn't tell you who Harold Miner was. So we need to let these guys play out. Because for all we know, Anthony Edwards may not even be a Michael Jordan. Maybe he's Dwayne Wade. Nothing wrong with that. But what if he's just Dwayne Wade, not Michael Jordan? So let him play a few years and then try to come up with comparisons.
Can you imagine if Jordan didn't leave and go to baseball? Could you imagine? Like, he had the 3-peat, he left to go play baseball, and then he came back and he won the 3. You talked about Bill Russell there with 7 in a row. that could have been a couple more years of Bulls championships there, and we'd be talking about Jordan underneath of a whole different spectrum. I mean, we were talking about 6-0. We're talking about no game sevens, everything like that. But could you imagine 8? I mean, 8 in a row? Like, that had been some crazy stuff. That had been some crazy stuff in between there. So, I mean, getting off of Jordan, I don't want to get too far into Jordan there. We want to get into Jordan Love, though. We got to be talking about Jordan Love and this Packers team. They're talking about Jordan Love potentially not playing under his current contract. He says that the Packers and him aren't close. They haven't talked much on this contract extension here. I can see both sides of the coin. To me, okay, as a Packer fan, I loved what I saw out of Jordan Love last season, but it was for a half a season. That's what the only thing that worries me, would worry me if I was Green Bay on locking up Jordan Love, is I don't want to say that he's going to end up like a Daniel Jones situation, just because I do believe Jordan Love is more talented than what Daniel Jones is. I believe the talent's there with Jordan Love. Don't get me wrong. I believe the talent's there. The thing that worries me is you only saw it for half a year. You know, some of these guys, they come in their rookie year, you can see sparks throughout the year. It's not going to be perfect, but you'll see sparks. We saw a pretty great end of the year for Jordan Love. Led the Packers into the playoffs, basically ran the table. In the famous words of Aaron Rodgers, we're going to run the table here. Ran the table basically for Green Bay, got into the playoffs, beat Dallas, probably should have beat the 49ers, and who knows then? You beat the Lions in the regular season in a blowout on Thanksgiving. I don't know what happens in the NFC Championship game, but you could be talking about the only team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs by, I believe, double digits was the Green Bay Packers last season, and you would have played them in the Super Bowl. Now you would have been against the Swifties, but you never know what could have happened last season there if that 49ers game goes just a little bit different there. So, I mean, to me, I understand where Jordan Love would be coming from, just because we've seen we've seen tens of 20s of guys sit out now because they don't like their contract or they haven't gotten that extension yet. But I don't know if Jordan Love's that guy. I really don't. Right now, from everything that I've seen from reporters, it depends on who you ask. One guy will tell you that Jordan Love's all in. He doesn't care. The next guy will tell you that, well, he really doesn't know what he wants to do yet. So it depends on where you look at it. So to you guys, I mean, watching Jordan Love, kind of hearing, I mean, you guys have probably heard him talk, heard his videos of doing these podcasts with everybody and stuff like that. Do you think Jordan Love would be a guy who, if he doesn't get that contract settled before the season starts, is going to sit out? Or do you think he's going to be like, I'm going to play? I'm going to jump in right away. We'll get this contract figured out as the season goes on, but I just want to be there. He's at OTAs. That's the big thing for me, is that he showed up to OTAs. So it gives me that little glimpse of, yeah, this guy's going to play. Like Aaron Rodgers, he wouldn't have shown up to OTAs. You know, you have those quarterbacks out there. I mean, Lamar Jackson probably wouldn't show up to OTAs. He seems like that kind of cat. But Jordan Love's there. So I think that gives that little glimmer of hope in there. But to you guys, I mean, you're in Jordan Love's shoes. You kind of know the personality of Jordan Love. Would you be worried as a Packer fan that Jordan Love might not suit up for game one if he's not under contract?
I mean, if he's at OTAs, that's a pretty good sign that he's willing to play. I will say, transitioning from Michael Jordan to Jordan Love, that's ESPN level right there. I got to give you props on that one.
It's what we do here, baby. It's what we do.
I mean, that was seamless. So, like, when you look at Jordan Love, this is kind of the problem where Green Bay got stuck between the aura of Aaron Rodgers at the end there and the possibility with Jordan Love. Because if Jordan Love had been thrust into the starting position maybe a season earlier, you might be in a different situation right now where you'd be like, oh, he's got a couple of seasons under his belt. We kind of know the quarterback that he is, so now we can pay him accordingly. But like you said, this was the first season we saw success out of Jordan Love. So now are we going to overpay off of 1 year, hoping that's just who he is? Or do we go into next year as like we need to see it one more time with you? And if he balls out again, does that just raise the price on him? and now you're paying a little bit more for him. I feel like Jordan Love seems like it clicked for him last year. I wouldn't be mad if they signed him in the offseason because you'd rather sign him a little bit too early, maybe get a little bit of a bargain, than let's just say he goes out next year, he's in the MVP conversation or something. Green Bay wins a division. They're in the NFC title game. You're going to have to pony up a little bit more money. So, like I said, that's the tricky thing where the Aaron Rodgers situation, because I thought they should have moved on from Aaron Rodgers a year or two, maybe earlier than they did. You would know a little bit more about Jordan Love. You could have let Rodgers go to New York a little early and corrupt that team, which I'm sitting back loving every second of it. But I expect big things out of Jordan Love this year, but we just don't know. We see it because if you take last year as like his rookie year, we'll see a lot of guys in their second year take a step back, and whereas some of them kind of progress a little bit more. I like what I saw from him. I would go ahead and pay him as long as it's reasonable, because I do think he's a guy you can really go with as your lead quarterback, as a leader of a team, especially with that like young group of wide receivers. It seemed like he's connected with them, whereas Aaron Rodgers couldn't. I would build around him and go with him in the future. So I would sign him.
Aaron, what do you think? What do you got?
I've gone back and forth on this like since you've been talking like the entire time. And my thing is like, what's his value, right? Like, so I mean, I just pulled up the list of like the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks. Like, I mean, you can make the argument like, I mean, Burrow. See, Burrow's one of those things like he's special, like he's very, very good, like he's elite, I would even say. But I mean, he's not been on the field enough that it worries me, right? Like I would be if I was, and I'm not saying that's all his fault. Cincinnati can't seem to form an offensive line to save their life, but I mean, you're paying that guy a lot of money, and if he keeps getting thrown around like a rag doll back there, it's almost to the point where like if I had a quarterback like that, I might even sit him if the offensive line gets as bad as it can be. Because I mean, you're signing these guys for 8, 9, 10 years, so if the offensive line can't protect you, game after game, I'd be like, you know what, we're going to like we're gonna put the backup in there and see what happens, because I'm not, ending my quarterbacks. I mean, look at Andrew Luck. Like that guy ended his career early because of injuries, and he got hit more than anybody in the league throughout his career. So my thing with Jordan Love, like I said, is like, what's his value? Like Joe Burrow's making 55, Mahomes is up there. I mean, Jared Goff to me, I mean, I don't know. Every time I look at these numbers, it like hurts my brain to think that these guys are making $50 million to throw. Like, no disrespect, like more power to you. If you're a quarterback in the NFL, you're sitting pretty. You're in one of the best positions in this country, I would say. But like Jared Goff's making 53. Do I think Jordan Love has the potential to be better than Jared Goff? Yeah, I do. So am I paying him based on what he's done so far? He's had one good year. Like he's really, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Is he a $50 million quarterback already? In my mind, I don't know if I can go there, but I see why you would go there because of potential. Like you're paying for what they're gonna do, not what they've done already, type of thing. But I would, as much as I do trust Jordan Love, I wouldn't pay him yet, because either way, I mean, what is it going to be a difference of $10 million per year, maybe? Which I mean, yeah, it's significant, but like what if he comes out this year? I highly doubt it. But what if he comes out this year and throws a clunker? Like he's 20 touchdowns, 12 picks or something. Obviously, he's not going to be like, they're not going to pay him as much. So I just think it's a little bit too early in the process. I mean, sometimes I even think the Eagles paid Jalen Hurts a little bit too early. Last year, Jalen Hurts wasn't nearly as good, but I do think a lot of that was coaching. But I mean, yeah, you got to wrap these guys up when you can. I totally get that. But I mean, the Ravens waited forever with Lamar, and he's not even like a top 3 highest paid quarterback anymore or whatever. So I don't know. It just keeps going up and up and up. Like soon they'll make $75 million a year. Like it's insanity to me. But I don't know. I'd hold off. Like I do exactly what they're doing now. Like I said, I don't doubt Jordan Love. I think he's going to have a great year this year. But why pay the guy like off 1 year, off one good season? You know what I mean? Pump the brakes a little bit, see what he can do in basically year 2 of him starting, and go forward from there. Because I mean, you're gonna have, as long as he doesn't play bad, you're gonna have to pay him a lot of money either way. So let him prove it again. That's what I would say.
I guess the only thing I would ask to that is, okay, so there's multiple quarterbacks up for extensions, right? We saw Goff get his, but you have Dak Prescott up for his. You have Trevor Lawrence. You have Tua, Brock Purdy. So to me, okay, I'm just going to ask it, and I'll ask you both here. Is Jordan Love, from what you've seen, now it's a small sample size, I don't know how far you can stretch it, but is Jordan Love, in your opinion, better than Trevor Lawrence? If you had to take a shot in the dark. Is he, from what you've seen? Now, that's the toughest part, right? Because if, let's just say, Trevor Lawrence gets signed before Jordan Love does, now Trevor Lawrence's contract's going to affect that. So this is something, that they're going to have to weigh into the situation now. So I guess in your guys' opinion, is he better than Trevor Lawrence?
That's an interesting one, because we just talked about Jordan Love paying him off of one good season. Trevor Lawrence came in with a lot of hype. Past couple of years, he hasn't really ended his season all that well. So, going into next season, to be honest with you, I would take Jordan Love next season over Trevor Lawrence. I just haven't liked what I've seen from Trevor Lawrence, especially at the end of last season. And I know he had his own issues with his offensive line, wide receivers dropping balls and everything like that. But I don't know, something about Trevor Lawrence just didn't look right last year. So next year, if I had to take one, I'm taking Jordan Love over Trevor Lawrence next season.
Aaron, what do you got? Trevor Lawrence, the Clemson man himself, or the Utah State alum?
So I think I'm not going to say you can't compare them, because you definitely, obviously, you can. But like Kyle, Trajan, and I could have been better coaches than Urban Meyer for Trevor Lawrence. Like I'm confident in saying that. Like, so to get thrown to the wolves in the way that Trevor Lawrence did with a coach that couldn't care less. He's an Ohio State coach, so what do you expect? I'm not going to think highly of him regardless. But he's at the bar during that I guess the whole team leaves and Urban Meyer's at the bar with some 20-year-old girl. Like, it just, every fiasco you could imagine probably happened that year. I can't imagine what it was like in the locker room. You bring Doug Peterson in, obviously, like him, winning a Super Bowl with the Eagles. I was like, I like Doug Peterson, but he has his, like, he ran the most bland offense for a couple of years, and I was like, when even though he won a Super Bowl, I was like, okay, I'm okay that he's gone. Like, it's just, this is not working. It looks like the same 4 plays. Like, you go in Madden and you have one, the 3 plays right there. That's what the Eagles were doing. It was like this play, and this play.
All you need is PA crossers. It's there every time. PA crossers. 3 guys crossing the field. If one ain't open, the other one's open over the top. It works every time.
So, like, as much as they call Doug Peterson the quarterback whisperer, and like that's a little bit, I think, of exaggeration. Like, I don't think he's a bad coach. Now, do I think he's like the best thing for Trevor Lawrence? Probably not. Now, you look at LaFleur and the Packers. I've liked the offenses that have been run in Green Bay since LaFleur has been there. Like, I watch Green Bay; they look put together. They look like they know what they're doing. People look like they know they're, everybody's on the same page. Where Jacksonville, like Kyle said, I watched Jacksonville a couple times last year, and I was like, these guys got absolute bricks for hands. Like, they're wide open people, and they're dropping the ball, and I'm like, dude, I can't put all of that on Trevor Lawrence. So, at the end of the day, I probably would lean Jordan Love, but I think Trevor Lawrence, given the, like, if you flipped them, right? If Jordan Love was in Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence was on the Packers, like, I would love to see that, because I think under the right coaching staff and everything, kind of like a good organization. Like, do I trust Jacksonville to be a good organization? No, I don't. So I think that plays into it. Yes, we see those examples of like C.J. Stroud, the Texans, who knows what they are as an organization. But look, I mean, he brought them to the playoffs. So I think Trevor Lawrence needs more help than like obviously like a C.J. Stroud has shown so far. But it's close to me. Like I'm not writing Trevor Lawrence off by any means. It's just because this past season was rough, but the year before, I mean, they were in the divisional round against the Chiefs, and they played them pretty hard. So I don't know. I mean, they have the potential to be good, but right now, right here, I would take Jordan Love just based on what I saw towards the end of the year last year.
So that makes it tough then. If Trevor Lawrence gets the bigger contract first, then if you're the Packers and you're thinking the same way, and Jordan Love's thinking the same way, then it's like, okay, we got to jack it up a little bit. Now, this is the interest. Tua's the, I don't even know. Tua, one game looks like he could be the next Steve Young, and the next game he looks like hot garbage. So Tua's a mystery to me. But Brock Purdy's an interesting one to me because I feel like, just like you said, with Trevor Lawrence going to Green Bay, that would change him. I feel like there's about 3 or 4 quarterbacks floating around in the league that I could throw into the 49ers, and Kyle Shanahan could figure out how to make them good quarterbacks out there. So Brock Purdy's an interesting one for me. If Brock Purdy gets a big payday, if he makes, resets the market, let's just say Brock Purdy resets the market, does Jordan Love get right in behind him then? If Brock Purdy gets 60, do you have to be around 55 to 60 with Jordan Love then? Just because there's been a lot of speculation with Brock Purdy that he's just basically a game manager out there and he doesn't really do the little bit extra for you. I've kind of been on that side of the fence where I watched Brock Purdy, and I mean, I watched him in that NFC Championship game. Yeah, he threw for 252, 1 touchdown, 23 for 39. But a lot of that was after the catch. A lot of that was the Packers defense being iffy at times with this, pretty stellar wide receiver and tight end group that the 49ers have there. So I'm not blaming it on Brock Purdy that he's got a heck of a wide receiver core and he's got, a heck of playmakers around him. But is Brock Purdy more valuable than what Jordan Love is? That's a tough one. I don't even know where I would shade on that one because that one's tough. I could see it both ways. I could say Jordan Love has made some of his receivers better. I don't know if Brock Purdy has made anyone better in San Francisco.
That is a tough one. Like, if you look at their numbers last year, they're basically the same quarterback touchdowns and interceptions. The one difference is Brock Purdy has a higher completion percentage, which for him it's much easier for him to throw a quick little out to Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk and let those guys do their thing. A little, curl route to George Kittle, and he turns around and makes plays with it. So if you look at the two, if Jordan Love was in that system, you might say you would lose a bit of Jordan Love's skills because Shanahan's system is all about pretty much being safe and getting the ball into the right playmaker's hands. For Brock Purdy, though, what's going to be interesting is after this season, you figure San Francisco is going to look different because they're not going to pay Ayuk and Samuel. One of them will be gone. Like, Kittle isn't young anymore. Defensively, the Niners have some older guys on that side of the ball. So if you start taking pieces away from Brock Purdy, how does that affect him? Whereas if I look at a Jordan Love, and some of that with the completion percentage might be Jordan Love takes more chances downfield than necessarily Brock Purdy would. So obviously your completion percentage will be a little bit down. And that's something that Jordan Love will have to work on is get that because he's throwing like 64%, which crazy, like in the 90s and 2000s, you're throwing 64%. You're like an MVP. But now it's like we're expecting quarterbacks to throw around 70% completion percentage where Love's at 64, 65. I mean, looking at the two skill sets, I think Jordan Love has more tools in his bag than Brock Purdy. So I would probably go with Jordan Love in that matchup. But it's it's just gonna be crazy to have a world where Brock Purdy could be your highest paid quarterback. And I know Brock Purdy has dealt with a lot of hate as Mr. Irrelevant, but you got to give him credit for what he's done with the opportunity in San Francisco. But I do think that Jordan Love is a more talented quarterback than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is probably better for San Francisco than Jordan Love because of Shanahan's system, but I think Love is the more talented guy.
See, I don't know though, Kyle. Like the last point you made, because I've had that art. Like my roommate's a Ravens fan, right? So I constantly tell him like, look, tell me when Lamar wins a big game. Like I don't want to hear anything about him because like yeah, he's amazing in the regular season, but what's he gonna do in the playoffs? Come up small, That's what he does. But you put like a Lamar Jackson or you put a Jordan Love on San Francisco, I think they would mow people over. Like I truthfully, I think that would be maybe even more. I shouldn't say more because like Jordan Love can move, but like if Lamar Jackson, because you're not asking a quarterback to make that many like crazy throws. Like you see what Brock Purdy like. Yeah, I'm not trying to take it away from him. He's completing the passes they're asking him to complete, but it's not like they're asking him to be Superman. Like the Texans basically said, "All right, Stroud, you got to go win us games this year," and like Purdy, it's like you got to play above, like you got to be above average, and you got to convert third downs when we need you. But like you have, I mean, Christian McCaffrey is an absolute machine. It's just like he couldn't have got. I don't want to say luck because that's not like I don't want to give him more credit than just luck, but he couldn't have been blessed into a better situation though. Like I mean, he has the skill set to win. I mean, he got him to the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was all him, that's for sure. But I'm all here for the Brock Purdy hate. I can't do it with the 49ers. He has the most punchable face in the league to me. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, I give him credit. Like I respect the fact that he's Mr. Irrelevant and it's panned out. Like I can't not respect that at the very least. So, but I mean, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And like, does he command top dog? Like, should he make more than Burrow? Should he make more? Like, you can't tell me he should make more than Mahomes. Like, you cannot. If Colin Cowherd or somebody will come on Fox Sports and say, "Oh, why is Brock Purdy not the highest?" Like, somebody will do it because, like Kyle said, everybody wants to be first. Like, if Brock Purdy comes in at like 42 million or something, and he's like middle, like upper to middle pack or whatever. Like, he's not. He's like at the bottom 10. Like, I don't think. I don't know. See that it's all screwed up though, because like Daniel Jones got 40 million, and like none of us think he's worth that. I'm sure. So if Daniel Jones got 45 or 40 million, how does Brock Purdy not get 45? Or you could make the argument he like his agent would probably be like, why is he not getting 55? Like, is he not 50? Is he not that much better than Daniel Jones? So I don't know. I mean, Herbert got the bag. Herbert hasn't done anything. Like, he's a good quarterback, but he hasn't done anything. So all these guys are getting a crap ton, but I don't know. That'll be interesting where Purdy, I mean, I hope they give him a 1 million, but that won't happen. But it's yeah, I don't know where these guys are going to land on the landscape of like the highest paid quarterbacks.
Yeah. Completely agree. It is a mess. It is a mess. And I think somebody's gonna reset the standard. Somebody's gonna reset the standard this year. It's just a matter of who. And it could be this last guy. Now, I'm not gonna compare him to Jordan Love, but this is to end it here. I just want to talk about this guy, Dak Prescott. The Cowboys keep extending him, and we keep giving him these big paychecks, and Dallas has not gotten anywhere. They don't bring in a backup quarterback to even test the waters. They bring in iffy dudes. And I don't know. It seems like one of those situations where Dak might be a good talent. Like I'm not going to say the guy doesn't have some talent, right? He's got some talent. But like you said there, with winning big games, Lamar Jackson winning big games, Dak Prescott got outdueled by Jordan Love and the 20-some-year-old Packers walking into town. This team had no business being in the playoffs, no business in Dallas, and they mopped the floor with the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs, in their building. Dak was a no-show. And it's been like that a couple of times now. We have seen Dak Prescott completely look like he is a first-year quarterback with no idea what's going on. So, I mean, I can't see a way that the Cowboys don't extend him. But in your opinion, is Dak Prescott the answer for the Dallas Cowboys? Or is this just kind of a revolving door where it's like a Phillip Rivers? Like a Phillip Rivers kind of guy where we just keep bringing him back, but he's not going to take us over the top.
Ryan Tannehill for Tennessee for so long.
Why they brought him back, I don't know. That big deal they gave him was like, we're trying to catch lightning in a bottle, and it's like, we saw this in Miami. This guy is not it. He's not going to take you anywhere.
Nope.
I mean, look, Tannehill had that one postseason where he got Tennessee to the AFC title game, and that obviously propelled him to that deal in Tennessee. So it can't happen with any quarterback. I feel like Dak is a really good regular season quarterback, obviously. And some of that can be attributed to the fact that he plays the Giants twice a year. He plays the Commanders twice a year. Those two franchises, for the most part, have been pretty bad during Dak's reign there. The Eagles, he'll kind of split with them or whatever, all well and good. It always seems like when Dallas, and this is probably a little bit more than just Dak, when they get to the postseason, it just seems like a bunch of guys who are front runners. And when they get to the postseason where everything seems like it's a little bit more pressure packed, if it doesn't go exactly their way, they fold. And especially that's how it looked against Green Bay. Like at a certain point, Green Bay was just out there having fun against a Cowboys team that year in and year out, we'll hear all the pundits say, this team has the talent to win a Super Bowl. Yet they can't make an NFC title game, much less the Super Bowl. So there has to be an issue somewhere on that team. I say Jerry Jones is a big issue in Dallas in terms of the players he goes after or doesn't go after, especially this past offseason. Like, what did Dallas do to improve their team? I don't know. So now you're going to ask Dak to go into next season where you look at some NFC teams that have gotten better while Dallas has kind of just stayed the same. Like, are we expecting the Eagles to be what they were last year or better? I would say better. The Commanders with a Jaden Daniels, will they be better? We don't know. I mean, the Giants, we kind of understand what the Giants will be. But just looking around, like Detroit's not going anywhere. Dan Campbell has established a system there, and those guys perform. I mean, obviously, he does go for it a little bit too much, but hey, that's the mentality of the team. It is what it is. I mean, we're talking about Green Bay right now. Where are we expecting them to fall to the wayside? No. The Rams, a lot of people love the Rams this season. The Falcons actually solved their quarterback position with Kirk Cousins over Desmond Ridder. So you kind of have to worry about Dallas possibly even missing the playoffs next season only because of the collection of the NFC getting better. And I honestly don't know. Like, Dallas, if they were to sign him, I probably would roll my eyes only because I just know that Dallas will never win the big game. Because I do have that question about Dak. Is he a quarterback who can just get you to the doorstep but can't take you into the house of being a champion? And if that's the problem with him, then yeah, Dallas has to think like long and hard about just giving him a bunch of money just to be, like you said, a Phillip Rivers. Where Phillip Rivers had great seasons, got to the playoffs, and would lose to an underdog Patriots team or would lose to a Jets team or something like that. There'd always be some team that would just bottle him up and he would struggle. So I think Dallas is in a sticky situation because if it's not Dak, then who? They brought in Trey Lance. Trey Lance couldn't cut it in San Francisco. And I don't think anybody knows exactly who Trey Lance is, and that's a problem if you're trying to play hardball with Dak Prescott. So they kind of backed themselves into a corner. They didn't draft anybody that's going to threaten them. And Trey Lance, as a backup, shouldn't really threaten Dak Prescott's standing as a starting quarterback in Dallas. So they kind of have to pay him, only because of the situation they put themselves in.
Yeah, 100%. Aaron, what do you got? I mean, Dak Prescott. You're an Eagles fan. You know him a little bit better than everybody. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know, because when he came in for Romo back, way back now we're talking, but everybody's like, oh my God, here we go, Dak, like, and I was like, damn, this guy is better than Romo, and that's a problem. And now we sit here and it's like, is he really any better than, like, it's the same result you got with Romo, great regular season quarterback, and like sometimes in the booth he's I don't know, that's a whole different issue, but I don't know as far as like how much, if Dak, here's the argument, if Dak went to a different team, like would he, but I gotta think like he's got a ton of talent on the offensive side, so I can't make massive excuses for Dak. It's like normally they have a good offensive line, they always have a good running back. That's just like the Brewers have a good bullpen, the Cowboys have a good running back. That's just, you can, I don't care who they could pick somebody in the 7th round, he'll get 1,000 yards. It's just, that's the way they operate. But I almost think it's the makeup of that team too. Like Kyle said, with talking about how these guys are front runners. Like I loved Parsons at Penn State. Don't get me wrong. Like he's an absolute beast, and like he's been better in the NFL than I thought he would be, honestly. But he kind of runs his mouth too much. For my, if he played on the Eagles, I'd be like, all right, I like the guy, but it's another Anthony Edwards type of thing. Here we go again. But I feel like those guys are probably either coddled by Jerry Jones, like they don't, because like I got to think the Packers, right? That team's out there practicing on a field with no, like I don't think their field's heated to my knowledge, like their Lambeau Field. So they're probably out there on the practice. I'm not saying they're hitting each other full speed on a freaking field that's rock hard, but I feel like in Dallas they come in, they got the hot tubs, they got like, I mean, the amenities, probably if you're a Cowboy, it's probably like, man, no wonder people don't want to play anywhere else or something. Like you're probably spoiled rotten there. And then you get to the postseason, you get hit in the mouth a couple times, and you're like, yeah, I don't know how much I really want this anymore. Like I don't know. I'm not saying that for sure, but it just feels like there's something like there's a disconnect there because they have the talent. Normally they have decent coaching. I don't think McCarthy's that great, but I just there's always it's always something with them. It's just is it Jerry Jones or is it team chemistry? Like they have the players there that by now it's like the Celtics. Like we said, one of these years they'll get over the hump. It feels like that should be the way with the Cowboys, but I have no trust that they will. So I'm okay with it, but it doesn't logically make sense that they're not a Super Bowl contender. One of these out of the last 10, even under Romo, you could make the argument. Okay, they had Dez Bryant, they had T.O., they had. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of players that are good players, but
yeah, no, 100%. Packers, they do have a heated field. They actually have been accused of turning the heat off after halftime to mess with other teams. So they'll like turn it down a little bit. They'll get a little slick out there. You got to take advantage when you got the shot, right? It's a tundra. What do you want from us? It's cold. I mean, come on. But yeah, 100%. It is going to be interesting offseason to see which one of these quarterbacks makes bank, who maybe doesn't get paid, and who sits out, because we know somebody's going to sit out on this list. So with that, I mean, great show today. Great show. We ran long, but the conversation was great. We just kept rolling along. We couldn't stop when we were ahead, right? I mean, it was good stuff. I just want to end it here. I want to give you guys a chance. Let us know, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can find your shows, because both of you, I mean, some of the most knowledgeable people I know. That's all I can say. Some of the most knowledgeable people I know when it comes to sports talk, and it's always fun on your shows listening to them. So, I mean, Kyle, starting with you, where can the people find you if they're looking for you out there on the interwebs?
I mean, I'm everywhere. No, I mean, you can look for me at Chomping Podcast on Twitter, X. I see that post every day from Elon. Which one do you prefer? I don't know what we're supposed to call it. That's where you can find me there. On YouTube, Facebook, Chomping at the Bit. If you go to the bio, you'll see my links to everything there. So that might be the easiest way. But look, this is my first time doing, Wisconsin sports on the go. I definitely loved it. I love talking sports with you too, because like we just have crazy fun with it, and it just makes it enjoyable. So I appreciate coming on here.
It was good stuff. It was good stuff all the way around. We were glad to have you, especially after a Red Sox loss. So, Aaron, to you now. I got to get off Kyle there. He's going to come back here. Aaron, to you now. I mean, you were on a little bit last week there, but where can the people find you? They got to they got to get brutally honest sometimes with sports. Where can they find you out there on the interwebs?
You have to be, because I mean, you watch these post game interviews, man. They don't give you the brutally honest stuff. They give you the cookie cutter stuff. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, you can find me on Brutally Honest Sports Podcast on Spotify, Good Pods, Apple Pod, all the podcasting platforms. I do have a YouTube channel. Don't really make use of it, but Brutally Honest Sports Podcast. All three of us are on the Integrity Sports Network, so check that out. And yeah, I had a blast too. We got something special going with us three on here together, and with I'm learning more and more about Wisconsin sports. I never thought I would even. To me, the Brewers almost didn't exist to me. I mean, no disrespect, but I completely forget about them. But ever since Trajan came along, now I know what the Brewers are doing. I know players and everything else. So it's fun. And yeah, well, I'm guaranteed we'll do it again soon.
It's all about beer and cheese up here. Once you get a taste of Wisconsin cheese, you're like, I never want to go back. You'd say, screw Baltimore, I'm all about the Brewers. So with that, it's been awesome. It's been a great talk we had today. I want to thank Aaron and Kyle for jumping on here. You got to check out their stuff. It's good stuff out there. So with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday. But until I talk to you guys again on Monday, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river I have held the devil's hand, felt the weight of my own sin.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This episode was brought to you by a lot of our fantastic sponsors. First Game Day Supply in Alaska. If you have a sports club or team, and if you're looking for some custom uniforms or apparel, you got to check them out there. Game Day Supply in Alaska. They'll help you get everything you need to get your team set up right for this upcoming season. Also, Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store down there, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. They got it all down there. Getting closer to spring, you got to get down to Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. Also, Marshfield Motor Speedways, located just 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. Plenty of family fun for every summer day and night coming up this year. Check them out on Facebook or online. Just search Marshfield Motor Speedway. You can find the schedule right there on their Facebook page or on their website. Also, your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy Sawyer Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Getting closer to spring, maybe you're looking to move. Those are the two ladies that you should trust around here to find yourself a great home. Also, Sports Scene, sports cards and memorabilia located in the Marshfield Mall in Marshfield, Wisconsin. Get down there to the store. Check out their wide variety of cards, jerseys, memorabilia, model stock cars. They got it all down there at Sports Scene. So check out Al there at Sports Scene in Marshfield. And also, last but not least, we have Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. If you've been injured lately and you need some physical therapy, you got to stop in there at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. They'll get you right. They'll get you back to work, back on the field, back on the court, whatever it is. They'll get you back there. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in to this great interview with Nolan Hurdle, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow on the show.